Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1923 French silent film, The Smiling Madame Beudet. Hey, I like that enthusiasm. Let's get it. The Smiling Madame Beudet is 38 minutes long, so it is a short. It is considered to be the first feminist movie ever made, and it revolves around the loveless marriage of Madame Beudet and her husband, Monsieur Beudet, who is a businessman of some kind. In the beginning of the movie, he is offered 2 tickets to the play Faust, and he is incredibly happy. He's dancing around. He's having a good time. He is excited to see this play, and he goes to his wife and he says, "Woman, I have 2 tickets to the play Faust. Let's get it." And she says, "No, I'd rather not go, or for whatever reason, I want to stay home. Not a huge fan. I don't want to go to see Faust." He gets incredibly upset, and he decides to play a game that he plays when he gets upset or annoyed or angry at his wife, where he points an unloaded gun to his head and pretends like he is going to shoot himself. What a fun game. How could this go wrong? How could at the end of this movie, this game that he plays somehow go incredibly wrong? So one of his neighbors, who's over at the time, I think it's one of his neighbors, he says, "Hey, what are you doing pointing that gun to your head?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not a big deal. Here's the gun here. Here's the bullets here. They never come together, so there's no way for me to kill myself." So he goes off to see the movie Faust, or see the play Faust, and his wife is left home alone, and she has like these dreamlike sequences where she sees her husband like maniacally coming into her bedroom and doing like really evil and bad things for some reason. I guess this is to show that he's not a good person, that it's a loveless marriage, that he doesn't treat her well, and she decides that she is going to put real live bullets into this gun, so next time he plays around and pretends like he's going to kill himself, he actually does it. So as the night's going on, she decides that she probably shouldn't have done that. She probably shouldn't have put bullets in the gun, because now he's going to kill himself, and she feels a lot of guilt. She feels a lot of remorse. So she tries to go down and take the bullets out of the gun. Unfortunately, though, the room is never empty. He's in that room working all day. There's never a chance where she can take the bullets out of the gun. Now, as he's working, he goes over the household money, things that are being spent, and he notices there's a lot of really high charges that he wasn't expecting, and he gets incredibly upset, and he gets incredibly mad, and he says, "Woman, come into this room so I can berate you about these charges that are probably stuff that we actually need." So she gets into the room, and he starts berating her, and he gets mad, and he starts getting upset and having this big speech, and he takes out the gun and he points it to his head, and she's like, "No, don't fire the gun at yourself, like, don't do it. This might be real this time." She doesn't actually say that, but these are like what's going on in my head as these things are going on screen. And he says, "It would be much better for me to shoot you instead than to shoot myself, because you're the one who spends the money, and it's probably on things we need, and I don't know what you're spending it on, but it's better for me to shoot you." Again, not stuff he actually said, but stuff that's going on in my head. So he points the gun at her, and he shoots her, and a real bullet comes out, and it hits like a vase and misses her. So he's a terrible shot. Probably could have never killed himself anyway, because he's a terrible shot. And then he rushes over to her, and he says, "My God, you wanted to commit suicide?" I don't know how he came to this conclusion. Like, she put a bullet in the gun that he's always putting up to his own head. She never plays this game as far as I can see. How could she have known that he was going to shoot at her and she was going to die, instead of him pointing the gun at himself and he's going to die? The ending of this movie really falls apart for me. Like, I don't understand how he came to that conclusion. Really doesn't make any sense. But he says, "How could I live without you?" And then he embraces her and he kisses her, and that's pretty much the entire movie. So my assumption is that she is going to just live the rest of her life in this loveless marriage that she absolutely hates, that she disdains this man. She can't fathom living with him anymore. She actually thought about killing him. But at the end of the movie, I guess they're just going to live together forever, and she's going to be miserable. I don't know. So, like I said, this movie is really short. There's a lot of really, like, cool dream sequences that I'm sure were, like, it's double exposure and was difficult to do at the time. Besides that, honestly, for a 38-minute movie, it's incredibly boring. There's not that many cards that show you what's being said on screen, so you really have to go with the actors' movements, and there's a lot of like overacting and just weird things in this movie that's really hard to understand what's going on a lot of the time. And I just thought it was, like I said, incredibly boring to watch. The story is like maybe a story that could last 10 minutes, but they stretch it to 38 minutes. It's not that deep of a story, but I mean it's okay. It's a good movie. For a short, it's fine. I'm glad they didn't try to stretch it out even longer than they did. For a first feminist movie, I really like in the 1920s. They were thinking about doing these kind of movies. I'm sure it wasn't easy to this kind of movie made and shown everywhere because of the ideals that people had. So I'm sure it's cutting edge. I'm sure that at the time it was considered to be controversial. But today, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it. The weakest of the movies I've seen so far. It is a 6.5 out of 10.